Hello and welcome to another quick tip video for the Behringer 2600. In the last video I explained how to play the 2600 like a normal monosynth using the MIDI input. Now I'd like to share some tips and ideas about connecting the 2600 to sequencers and modular gear using its CV and gate jacks. The Behringer 2600 comes with an internal MIDI to CV gate interface. Note informations received via MIDI input will be translated to gate and control voltages, or CVs. These voltages are internally connected to the VCOs and envelopes, but we can break these connections with a patch cable. You can patch anything here, from inside the 2600 or from outside. Let's start with the sequencer. I will be using a Korg SQ1 here, but this works with many other sequencers as well. The SQ1 has two pairs of CV gate outputs and can be used as two sequencers, each having 8 steps. I want to use sequence A and B of the SQ1 to control VCO2 and VCO3 of the 2600 independently. If you want to play more than one VCO with a single sequence, then you need to split the CV with a multiple or stack cables. First, I want to send a gate to the 2600 to trigger the envelopes. Let's use gate output A from the SQ1. I will connect it to the sample and hold clock input in the AR section and set the switch to its down position. According to the specifications and the quick start guide, the trigger threshold here is 6 volts. The Korg SQ1 has a gate voltage output of 8 volts, so that should work fine. By using this input, both envelopes will be triggered together. You can trigger the envelopes independently as well, but more on that later. Now let's connect CV output A from the SQ1 to VCO3 on the 2600 and have a listen. Okay, cool. I need to connect sequencer B to control the pitch of VCO2. CV out B goes to the keyboard CV input of VCO2. And yeah, sounds great. Now I can control VCO3 and 2 with different note informations from the step sequencers. Of course, you can use the sequencer CV outputs to modulate other things on the 2600 as well, like filter frequency or pulse width of the VCOs and so on. Here are some examples. Now let's trigger the envelopes independently. First, we need to take a closer look at the envelopes for this. The way this is implemented and laid out on the Behringer can be really confusing. In the AR section, you will find these inputs labeled gate in and trig in or trigger in. In the ADSR section, there's a gate input as well. On other modular synths, you would just send a gate to the gate inputs to trigger the envelopes, but this doesn't work in the 2600. The reason is that the ADSR needs a gate and a trigger voltage to work correctly. So if you use the gate input in the ADSR, you also need to use the trigger input in the AR section. Confusingly, the gate in next to the trigger input is dedicated to the AR. Furthermore, the AR envelope generator will output the same voltage value that it receives to trigger at its input. So you could say it is more of a lag processor with adjustable attack and release times. Now let's try out. I will patch gate A of the SQ1 to the gate input of the AR and set the switch accordingly. The gate out B will be patched to the multiple and from there to the trigger in and the gate in of the ADSR. Let's just play around a bit. One tip that I want to mention, there's a manual of the original ARP 2600 available for download, which you can find with a Google search. Although it's not exactly the same as the Behringer, you will find some great use cases and examples, and you can learn a lot about how all the sections work and can be used. So, thanks for watching and keep on experimenting.